Hello, my friends. I'm here. Give me a second to get settled in here. Exiled Faye. Hello, hello. Peter. We've been yeeted. Hello, hello. Have a decent chance of getting the job, but it's a huge pay drop. That seriously sucks. Question, though. Two questions. Twofold question. One, is it a job that you would, like, really like doing? Question mark. And two, is it a job that, like, if you work for them for, like, 3 months, you could get, like, a raise, or if you work for, like, 6 months, there's potential for raises? Or is it just, like, this would be essentially the salary, and that would be that? Peter, how you doing? How's it going? We have our map. I have adjusted so that you can see everything that's on my screen. Hopefully it's a little bit larger for you guys than it is for me on OBS, but we can zoom in later to take a better look at it. Yeah. This is what we did the last time. I didn't hate it. I didn't instantly hate it when I opened it up. I think that's a good sign. Sorry. I'm fiddling with my mic for a second. Have such sleeves. A sleepy little guy. Peter, have you not been sleeping well? Have you not gotten, like, that one really good sleep that will, like, drive the sleepy sleeps away? Not like, but good at and can do. There seems to be some room for growth, but it doesn't sound like I'd make it back to where I was without going for supervisor. Oh, that kind of sucks. I mean, unless you want to be a supervisor. It doesn't sound like you want to be a supervisor, though. So it'd be something I do until I found something better. That makes sense, and that's fair. Like, that's what I was gonna say is, like, if the answer to both of those questions is essentially no, then just keep looking, right? And I always tell people the same thing. Like, when I was younger, I used to feel like once you get a job, like, you're obligated to be, I don't know, dedicated to it or something. But if you're doing a job search, like, it's perfectly fine to take an intermediary job and just do that job until you find a job that you actually, like, can see yourself doing for a long period of time. Because otherwise, like, if you have to take a job to pay the bills and you feel like you're stuck there, that's just miserable. I feel like that too, mostly because I hate job searching. That too! I mean, job searching can be really draining. We've talked about querying on stream before, like, it's the same with job searching. Like, it's just, there's a lot, and you don't get the answers that you want, and it goes on forever. I'm in such a bad pattern, and it's affecting me emotionally and physically. Oh, Peter, you need to take some time for yourself. De-stress, get yourself, like, good and relaxed, and see if you can just pass out for 12 hours. Y'all get paid for working? I don't. But I am my own boss, so that explains it. Man, I just know so many people who are in that, like, job search ringer right now, and it sucks. Like, I know that I personally haven't done a job search, like a serious job search, in a long time. I've done some kind of, like, what if I poke around in this and see if it's something I'm interested in doing? But I know that that's, like, a privilege to have that as a choice and not to have to, like, pursue it. But I just know so many people right now who are like, I've applied to 17 jobs and I've done 7 interviews and now I'm just waiting for that call. And it's like, I wish I could just, like, I wish I could become the job fairy and just, like, bless y'all with jobs. I guess I'm technically my own boss and I have a producer, so technically I'm an employer as well. Do you employ the producer or does he employ you? I always thought that the producer would be... Are you, like, the executive producer, then? Are you, like, the executive producer, Peter? You employ the producer? I'm a landlord, which still, like, sometimes blows my mind when I think about that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I rent property to somebody. Today, as you can see on the screen, while I wait for people to either reply or tell me to STFU, this is what we've done so far of the map of Aruvalia. This is going to be going into... I'm going to put this into Photoshop and clean it up a bit because I don't necessarily want the edges to be gray. That's going to create like a weird boxiness when it prints out on the inside cover. But I am pretty happy with how it's going so far. I want to put a few more towns in here. And a few more regions, because as you can see, I've started to put some mountains in, and we've put in like the sand dunes in the desert. I want to fill this in with some more places that are mentioned in some of the books. Not all of them. I will obviously fill this out more as it goes. And I want to put in, I know there's like another forest region over here, like a smaller one. And I want to fill in the south a little bit because it's just very empty. And then we're going to do rivers. If I haven't gotten to rivers around noon, I'm just going to be like, okay, it's time to do rivers because we got to get some rivers in there. I'm weirdly nervous about doing rivers whenever I do. Rune Wolf, thank you so much. Rivers or reavers? Thank you for the 10 stream streak, Rune Wolf. How's it going? Put an elemental water park. Oh my god, that's such a cool idea. I'm sad that I didn't put that in the series. I'm weirdly nervous about doing rivers because in the real world, rivers flow in a logical way. And a lot of people have like, a lot of people don't understand how rivers actually work. Because, like, you've probably at some point... I had heard this myth, and I had to look it up, like, 4 times. You've probably heard the myth that, like, rivers flow north to south. That's not true at all. Rivers flow from high to low. So they start in high areas, such as mountain, and they flow downwards to the ocean. And they can switch back and they can be super weird and go all over the place, but they're always flowing from high to low. I never heard that. I can't believe people think that. I know. Like, I did so much, like, research when I did my first map because I was like, if I fuck up the rivers, like, first, and I, honestly, having looked at, like, real life maps, I don't know why I still worry about this because rivers are so weird, but I'm like, someone's gonna look at my map and be like, that river doesn't make sense. So rivers are the thing that I'm like the most nervous about. I have one in our D&D campaign. That sounds awesome, Conquest. Also, how are you? Stupid gravity, right? Going good still on these last pages? You got this, Rune Wolf. You're so close to finishing. My title I use for myself is presenter-producer, as I self-produced for many years. But now she's come on board as producer. Yeah, I think that makes you the executive producer, right? Promotion. Yeah, Peter does radio. We had an EDM gnome cave. That sounds so amazing, too. I don't know why I'm on this landmass tool, but there we go. Okay, so on my other screen, which is just gonna look like I'm looking at you guys, I have all of the places that I need to put in here. So we have Silver Garden. I'm not doing a map of Silver Garden, the city, for the first book. They don't spend Why does it always play this weird song? I don't know what's up with the, like, weird... That song wasn't bringing me joy. They don't spend enough time in, like, going to different districts of Silver Garden that I feel like you really need a map for it. Later, it gets into, there are things that are gotten into about the layout of the city, so I may eventually make a map of Silver Garden, because I think Silver Garden is actually really cool in layout, but for now, we just have Silver Garden. So I can skip all the stuff that's in there. We have Rock's Rest. And again, I don't feel like it's worth doing, like, a city map, but there are some places in Rock's Rest. We have the Snow Sand Desert, or the Moon Shadow Dunes, which is what this is. That's where the Warden's Tower is. And then we have a place that I can't put on the map because it moves. We have Ebon Hollow, which is beneath Ravensview. So this town is basically up on top of these mountains. I've tried to position it so that you can see that it's like up in the mountains. And then Ebon Hollow is down below in the earth beneath the mountain. And then we have the Mistborn, which is this massive sort of jungle, coastal jungle, which has a bunch of different little towns in it, but the only one that we've marked for now is Sayat Mistborn, which is the... basically, once upon a time, the Mistborn was its own kingdom. Like, this portion of Aruvalia was once its own kingdom. A lot of these were, like, other kingdoms that came together, lore history, but this was, like, an elven kingdom. And Sayat Mistborn, or Center of Mistborn, as what it means, was the capital. But now it's the largest city in the Mistborn Forest. It's very... like, it's historically protected. Parts of Sayat Mistborn and parts of the Mistborn are, like, historically protected, so you need, like, special visas to go there unless you were born there. It's, like, all these weird holdovers from the fact that they used to be their own kingdom. And also because it's where the elves live, and the elves are sometimes, you know, hoity-toity. I'm writing a story called Gnome Rave. Oh, yeah! I remember the Gnome Rave. I want to read that so bad. Coming up on my 13th year in radio. Over the years, I've done about 17 minutes of quality entertainment. Peter, you've done way more than that. Elemental Dance Magic, or EDM, where they do have an actual rave in a cave. That's amazing! I love that idea. I can tell you with certainty that Damarin is a fan of dwarven heavy metal. When I think about, like, all of the fantasy races, and, like, every race probably has, like, elves probably have heavy metal. It's way different from dwarven heavy metal, though, but I think Damarin is a big fan of dwarven heavy metal. I'm a dwarf and I dig in a hole. Yes! Diggy diggy hole. We do not fear what lies beneath. We can never dig too deep. He would listen to Windrose. He absolutely would. I feel like elven heavy metal would be the really melodic, like, if you guys have ever listened to, what's the name of it? There's a band that does backing tracks for Sabaton. What are they called? Where do I have... Van Canto. That's what they're called. Van Canto. They're like, when they do their own stuff, it's mostly a cappella, just with drums. And they do backing tracks sometimes for other bands, like Sabaton. Very melodic, very, like, it's very voice-oriented. They have, like, this wall of sound, but it's all different vocal parts. I feel like that's what elven heavy metal would be. And then dwarven heavy metal is like it's not the like super growly stuff, but it's more like the like wall of musical like instrument sounds, so like layered guitar and like heavy drums, like rushing drums, like the really fast drum beat, and just like if you know what's the band that did Dragon Force? Dragon Force is the band, that's right. Through the Fire and the Flames is the song. Like Dragon Force style guitar, but not just the same song 5 million different times. I imagine that like dwarven heavy metal is like that, where it's like this deep, like you're kind of supposed to listen to it in a cave. And so it's like this intricate, like in-depth layers of sound. And then if you listen to it like in its native environment, it would like echo off the walls and create like this extra effect to it. I weirdly think about this shit. As I'm saying this, I'm like, I put too much thought into this. Yes, Fire and the Flames was in one of the Guitar Hero games. So that's, like, what I imagine, like, dwarven heavy metal is like, and I think that's the stuff that, like, Domran really likes, is, like, the, because he's not really listening to it for the lyrics, he's listening to it for that, like, wall of sound, that rushing guitar, that, like, heavy, get your blood pumping, like, beat and stuff. Gnomish music in my world is heavily, I'm gonna say this horribly wrong, Hedningarna flavored? I don't think I've heard of them. I might have to listen to that. Yeah, I obviously haven't thought of, like, all of the different types of heavy metal, in the world, but, like, I do think about that kind of stuff. Your guess is as good as mine, they're Finnish. I tried my best! I do know, I won't spend the whole day dropping lore, but it is, like, established in this setting that the Mistborn elves, not all elves are from the Mistborn, so I kind of make that distinction. Like the Mistborn elves, which is where Domran is from, have a very specific culture, because they were their own kingdom at one point in time. There are elves from other places who do not share those same customs. But it is very commonplace. The elves of the Mistborn record their history in music. So, like, they have history books that have, like, the stories, the, like, writings and, like, the stories passed down of history. But all of their great compositions, like, all of their great composers throughout history, compose music that is, like, meant to be a historical record. Through feeling and emotion and sound. The music doesn't have words. It's like, not all of it's classical music, but it's like classical music, and it has different movements, and the idea is that it evokes a time period in history via what you feel when you listen to it. So music is, like, a really big deal in Domran's culture because of that, because they record their history in music. And every elf in the Mistborn knows how to play some kind of instrument. The rule of thumb for a Mistborn elf, although it's not necessarily always in practice, is one instrument for every century. So for every century that a Mistborn elf is alive, they learn a new instrument. Theoretically. And Domran's mother is, like, quite old. I think she's in, like, 800 or 900 year territory. She plays a lot of instruments, but her main instrument is the harp. The one that she plays the most proficiently, the one that she favors, is that she's a harpist. Hey, Kylondo, how's it going? They do eventually die. I haven't pinned down exactly, their lifespan. They can eventually, like, get super old. Like, they do eventually get super old and kind of, like, wither. I haven't pinned down the exact time frame for it. There are things about this world that even I don't know. But anything under 500 years for a Mistborn elf is considered quite young. And Damarin at the beginning of the book is, I believe, like 340 or 360. He's like in his mid 300s. So he's considered quite young. Kalterans, usually their average lifespan pre-human mix was 5,000. And once they kind of finished interbreeding, as it were, it came down quite a bit. The average lifespan came down quite a bit, to probably 1,000 would probably be impressive in the later half of the Empire, in the post-time jump part of the Empire. Kalterans lived a long time because... Kind of, yeah. So Kalterans, it's actually kind of explained... I think I kind of explained this a little bit. There's a thing in humans called telomeres. If you don't know what they are, look them up. Every time our cells split, it's recorded in the telomeres. The telomeres shorten. Because there's like a... It's like a mistake in our genetic code that when our cells split, the telomeres don't get replicated properly, so they shorten. And that's why over time humans age and our cells wear out, because they can only split so many times before they're out of telomeres. And then they start to break down. I'm really simplifying this. I'm not a geneticist. But in Kalterans, they didn't have that. Their bodies didn't have that issue. So when their cells split, they split perfectly. And so they lived for a very, very long time until they would just hit a certain point where their bodies would basically shut down. And for anyone who's read the series, it's kind of explained in the series, but once a Kalteran starts to show signs of age, like once their hair starts to turn gray, they probably have like 3 or 5 years left. Like they know that their bodies are about to burn out, and that's like the end. They go very quickly. But they have this very, very long lifespan. Now they can be killed. They're very human in many other ways. If you stab them, if you stab them in the chest, they're gonna bleed to death. I'm gonna say your name right today. Adverial, good morning. Or afternoon, as it were. I didn't rearrange all the letters in your name today, I don't think. I've done that before. There's an idea for human immortality. Get rid of the telomeres or mend them. Find a way to mend them so that they replicate properly. But yeah, it's an actual scientific thing. Look up telomeres or whatever they're called. It's very fascinating. They go real fast at the end. Like the end cap on a shoelace, but DNA. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. What the fuck? I don't know if I want to know what's going on in that song. Yes, they're at the end of the chromosomes and prevent. Yeah, exactly. And they get smaller and smaller as your cells break apart. And this is why we age. So theoretically, like, the gene therapy that would extend our lives would be repairing. Now, it's more complicated than that. There's more involved in the aging process than just telomeres. So obviously I'm simplifying it. I don't know how deep I've ever been able to go into this in, like, the Aruvalia Chronicles, but I know all of these things about different races. Like, elves have this, like, ultra immune system. So once an elf has, you know how we get a disease and then we develop antibodies for it, and then if that disease mutates, we get it again, and that's why we have to take the flu shot every year. The way, like, elven immune systems work in the Aruvalia Chronicles universe is that once an elf has gotten a disease one time, so, like, if they get the flu one time when they're a kid, their immune system is so, like, amazing that it can detect a mutation in that disease, and it, like, is designed to protect against the mutation in the disease. So they only ever get sick that one time. They only ever get the disease once, and then their body can fight it off. that does come up at some point in the books. But also, one night I just randomly sat down and was like, how do blood transfusions work in a fantasy world of modern times where they can do that? And so I was like, which races can take blood from other races? And I was like, elves, because they got like the ultra immune system. I know, right? They get all the good stuff. So they can basically, elves are all kind of like universal donors for each other. It doesn't matter what blood type an elf has. If they're getting elven blood, they can have the elven blood. Like their body just like filters out the parts that are like not matching. And if they don't have elven blood available, they can have human blood of the same blood type. So if you're like elf AB, you can have human AB blood or half elf AB blood. But it doesn't work in the other direction. Humans can't necessarily get elven blood. So I had like a whole chart at one point. I was like, how it works. So yeah, there you go. That had nothing to do with anything that we're doing right now, but there's some deep dive. So yeah, the Mistborn is important, and it has a lot of lore because that's where Dameron is from. And Sayat Mistborn is the capital and is actually the city where Dameron grew up. Most fantasy worlds, the humans are always the genetic sluts, but I was always the weirdo at the table wanting to cross other species. You have mixed races? Absolutely. And pretty much any race can mix with any other race. You don't always see them in the books. But there's eventually a half-elf main character. And there is one character, I can't say who because it would be a massive spoiler, but there's a half-dwarf as well. And that was really fun because I was able to go a little bit more into dwarven culture. Dwarves in the Aruvalia universe have this thing, this cultural concept of perfection. And so dwarves are always chasing perfection, and each dwarf has like their own sort of self-identified perfection that they're searching for. So if you're a craftsman, you're searching for the perfect forging method, or being able to forge the perfect like weapons, or if you're a different kind of craftsman, like building the perfect type of architecture or crafting the perfect kind of music, right? It's different for each individual dwarf. And half-dwarves are not as accepted in dwarven society as mixed races of other races. So elves have kind of gotten to the point where they're like, half-elves are a thing. We're just going to have to accept that. We're just going to have to accept that elves sleep around and half-elves exist and whatever. So they've kind of gotten over it a bit, but dwarves believe that because of the diluted blood in a half-dwarf or a partial dwarf, they can't achieve perfection, or it's very, very difficult for them to achieve perfection because they're imperfect by default. They're kind of jerks. But if you have a cultural idea of perfection, it's gonna happen. And so half-dwarves have a really hard time getting accepted in dwarven society unless they're like ultra at something. And so you have these like half-dwarves that are amazing composers, like absolutely amazing architects, like so famous, because they have to be to get their dwarven parent, like their dwarven family, to accept them, aside from whichever parent was like, yeah, I'm gonna have sex with another race. But yeah, there are absolutely mixed races in the Aruvalia, and in a lot of cases it's just very common, like it's just very accepted. There are also races like shifters don't necessarily follow the same. They're not necessarily a race in the way that like elves are a race. They don't always mate with each other. The pairing of a shifter and another race is either a shifter or not. So they either get the shifter genetics or they don't. they don't have mixed races because of that, because of the way their genetics work. So they'll either be born a shifter or not. There's no like half, but they can mate with any race and potentially. So like there's human shifters, there's elf shifters, but they either get it or they don't, right? So, because lycanthropy isn't really a thing, but shifter genetics are. In the steampunk fantasy world, there are some fun mixed races you encounter. Nice. So Greenland sharks, 300 to 500 years old, and giant tortoises, 100 to 250, seem to be the longest living large animals. There are some weirdly long-lived creatures on Earth. Cheers, Exiled Fae. Anyway, that was a deep rabbit hole. So we have Mistborn, we have Shimmerwell, which is, this is like a hot springs city, so it's also up in the mountains. It's like a tourist city. It's where everybody goes because the water is said to have like magical restorative properties. We have Ice Rest, which is like, if you've ever been to Inverness in Scotland, it's like that. It's like the highest, it's like the largest town in the north before there's no towns anymore. Then we have Limegate, which is over here on the Thristathen border. We have Thristathen, which is big kingdom that borders. We have Phallic as well. And then we have places that are not on the map because it doesn't extend over far enough. And now what I think I need to do is there are a couple of like super small places that I need to look up and sprinkle into the map. Very interesting little fun fact. The Medusa jellyfish can actually be immortal because it can revert to its polyp stage and basically be reborn. Still hashing out genetics. I don't think I'll ever fully pin down everything about all of like the genetics in this world, but I have put thought into it, and I feel like that adds some depth. Do you use in-depth geography and map building in your world building to inform races and genetics? Not that far. I usually I kind of just base the genetics on like fantasy related things. But I do try to use the geography to influence the culture. So based on like a lot of the Mistborn related lore is because they live and grow up in, and their society centers around a magical jungle that is like chock full of magic and magic creatures that aren't anywhere else. And so that influences their culture a lot. And like dwarves originated underground. They still have a lot of underground cities. So I try to like factor that into like the culture and stuff. I saw a thread on our world building where some guy built a full interactive map. That's amazing. It was a deep rabbit hole. But I love this kind of stuff because if you think about that kind of stuff, even if it doesn't make it into the novel, it's going to be really interesting. Get your damn science out of my fantasy. Look, Conquest, science and magic can be one and the same, and I will die on that hill. So I need to move this. I'm gonna have to actually, hang on. Gonna have to actually just hide my screen for a minute because I have to open something, spoilery. And it's gonna open on this screen. Need to look at this book. There we go. Grumpy Domrin. Yeah, no, you don't get to see this part. This is like book 4. There are a couple little places that I mention in here that I didn't ever write down. I think there's a place called Crystal Cross. There is. Ah, I remembered it. Crystal Cross. And then I have to go to... I guess I can move this back over here since he's blocking my screen. I think it's in here. Where did I put my note? There it is. So many. I have so many post-it notes, I lost it. Okay. I'm assuming it's also a border town. I didn't say where, though. Did I mention any other places that I feel need to be in there? I don't think so. So we don't have as many things to add. If you could see this note right now, okay. All right, let's put Domerin back the way he was. Perfect. Fantasy and sci-fi got me interested in science and tech. Heck yeah! I mean, I am a big believer in taking real-world stuff and sprinkling it into fantasy. I mean, sci-fi already does that. I love to blur the lines between sci-fi and fantasy. I love to have, like, the science of magic. There's a whole, like, science of magic thing going on in Aruvalia Chronicles about, like, how mages interact with magic and how magic interacts with the land, and how Domerin breaks the rules because he's an energy channeler, which is an extremely rare talent. But it's also, like, the things that he can do if he understands how to do them are really scary. So most energy channelers just never train because they don't want to be used as like scary weapons of mass destruction. I will steal that hill. Thank you. Have it, Conquest. Come join me on it. I do use the Post-it Notes app. My desktop is covered in Post-it Notes from the Post-it Note app. I've heard of Plotter. I do know friends who use it for D&D notes. Yes, science the shit out of your magic. Heck yeah. We have Einstein develop magic in our novel TTRPG. That is so cool. I love that idea. I'm gonna pop AFK right quick for reheating my coffee. I know I've done like nothing, so I'm not gonna do like a proper break. I'm just gonna throw this in the microwave for a minute, and then I'm gonna actually put these places on the map. Coffee is hot again. So first thing I need is I think we've been using I've been using this. I think it's 50. Oops. Actually, move that slightly further north. Oops. I have a lot of little border towns. You can kind of tell that my characters cross the borders a lot. Okay. So we need to do some region-specific stuff. We know... Oh, yeah. Save. Save all the time! We know that there's desert down here, so I should just expand that. Is that in... Sand dunes, yes. How did I change? Oops. Because those are gray and these are not. Oh no, okay. They are. It's just showing me a different color when I'm hovering over it. Coffee for the win! Heck yeah! Cheers, Kylondo. How are you, Kylondo, by the way? I think we were so deep in that rabbit hole when you joined us that I didn't even say proper hello. I do like that it, like, varies the symbols. It makes it very, very easy to, like, denote what, like, your regions are without, like, too much difficulty. Actually, I think I just need to put some more mountains over in this area. There's got to be some weird ice people up there to be revealed in later installments. I don't know, maybe. The unclaimed, not so... I mean, people do... Okay, so... Fair point. People do live in that unclaimed portion, and it is mentioned who lives there at some point in time. It's just not part of a country. It's not part of Aruvalia. And they don't really, because there's no like permanent settlements up there. It's not really a country. It's just kind of like considered unclaimed territory. But people do live there. And they do go there. The characters do go there. What does this look like? Oh. Well, first of all, I would have to make it big enough that I can actually see it. It's not terrible. There we go. There's just one giant tree. They're so tiny. Okay. HD Christmas. Oh, there you go. That's a good pine. Can I make them small enough, though? That one's so much bigger than all the other ones. I don't really like it. Oops. Okay. I'm obviously not going to put, like, every tree that's like in the thing on the thing, but I'm trying to put like regions. There's gonna be some weird ice people. We talked about that. Just realized I need to create a new character for this book. This is quite backwards from how it usually goes. Usually the characters come to me, but now there's a character shaped void. Dang, that happens sometimes though. Like, it's good to let the story tell you what it needs. This is a weird song. I don't know that I like it. I'm gonna put some more scrub forest up here, because for anyone who's never been to like places where there's a lot of mountains, that was me looking out my window, although I can't see the mountains today. There tends to be a lot of pine forest in the region of mountains, because pine grows really well in like pine grows really well in, like, hostile regions, essentially. I'm just trying to put some, like, scrub forest in here. Cool. All right. Save. I'll audition characters for the role. So tell me, because I'm curious. This is not like meant to be a snarky question. How do you do that? How do you audition characters for the role? Do you like look over? Do you have like a group of characters that are waiting for new homes? Do you just like think of a bunch of different people who might suit that? Like how do you decide what is gonna go in that space? I'm very curious. Because for me, it's the same. Like, a character usually trundles up and is like, hi, I'm the person that you're looking for. It me. Hello. Those are pretty happy looking trees. I think those are the trees we use for the Mistborn. I don't necessarily want to use the same. Okay. We're gonna use these, I think. No! Oh, fuck. How do I redo? Okay. And I'm thinking we're going to have to put some farmland in here and here, and possibly here. The south is a little bit empty. You can kind of tell that my characters don't go there as much. Let's see what symbols we have. Because I want to look for, like, some farm indicators. I'm pretty happy with this. I'm almost ready to start screwing around with, rivers. I'm making this up as I go along. Well, that's what we do, but I'll probably look at characters from other projects. Oh, that's a good idea. Or I might just go on Pinterest and look at people and see if any of them have a vibe. I've done that too. I have boards for this particular series. The algorithm might show me something. The algorithm might show me something that sparks a muse. I love that. This character is going to be a kind of apprentice to the protagonist. Oh, interesting. Oh my gosh. So, anybody who hasn't seen For All Mankind and is a sci-fi fan, please do yourself a favor. Watch For All Mankind. It's on Apple TV. And it is so good. It's an alternate history show about, okay. Would you count it as a spoiler if it's in, like, the news scroll at the very, very beginning of, like, you know how each season they do, like, a news scroll about, like, what happened since the last decade? Would you count that as a spoiler? If you count that as a spoiler, then I won't say it. I think it's not a story spoiler, but I won't say it. There's something in that opening scroll, that I find very amusing, but I won't say it. But if you haven't seen For All Mankind, do yourself a favor. It's, you probably remember the, Bush and Gore, presidential election. My brain just totally, like, blanked out. So they changed the outcome for the election in the alternate history. So For All Mankind, for anyone who doesn't know, it's an alternate history where the Russians beat us to the moon. And so it's basically like the timeline diverges and it shows you things that could have happened differently if there had been small adjustments to our timeline. And every decade, I was kind of talking to Ghost about this, every decade they get a little further from, like, reality by changing little things. Nyx Flair, thank you for the 3-stream streak. How are you? Looking with sound off, but yay streaks. Oh, hang on, I may have messed up that app by doing that. And so every season things get a little bit different, and this season is the 2000s, and it was the first time that I really caught a lot of the, like, historical idiosyncrasies, because I got married in 2003, which is the current year in the series. And so I was very, very interested that they changed the results of that election. So I think they're trying to... Well, they had screwed with presidential elections before, but I think they're trying to get a certain distance away from reality for future seasons. But I found that interesting, that was one of the specific things that they decided to change. And that's all I'll say, because I'm not going to spoil anything for the season. But it's been very interesting. And each season of the show is a different decade. So it starts with the 70s. So they've done the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and then this year is the 2000s. I was wondering if they would do that since they did the Clinton scandal, sort of. Yes, that comes up in the opening scroll too. So it was really interesting because I read that the way that they do it for each season, because they're covering like a decade, right, is that they look back at like events that were of cultural significance in each decade, and then they sort of reskin them for the show. They like find a way to incorporate something that was from the public consciousness into the story. So you don't see necessarily the exact events, but you see something similar to that event plays out in the story of the show. And it's really, really interesting to see like what things they focus on each season and what things that they change historically at the like in between each decade to show that the world is getting further and further away from like what it originally was. So I'm so glad that you watched that show, Exiled Fae. I might have to like message you in Discord because it's so good. That show is so good. Same. Ghost Pepper's a really big history and alternate history nerd. And I've really been digging like the way, and for anyone who's like, how do they do a story that's across decades? So they do focus on characters. And so you get to see characters like as they age and as they progress through their careers. And like there was a character in the first season who was like 16. She was just like a young kid. She might not have even been 16. She might have been younger than that. Who was from Mexico. Her family was from Mexico, and they smuggled her across the border. And she's in, like, you get to watch her grow up, and you get to see, like, how her life unfolds and, like, what she ends up doing and who she becomes. And it's really, really cool to see these characters kind of grow up in front of you. The only kind of weird thing is that they sometimes have to cast an actor that looks a little too old for their opening role. I love Aleda. She's probably like my second favorite character. I did think Kelly, when she first was in the show, looked a little old to be a teenager, but they had to cast somebody that they could have be an adult in the next season. So the first season she was in, I was like, she looks like she's probably like 23. But then, like, as the seasons go on, they have to age the characters, right? So they need to have characters that they can, the actors that they can kind of age. It was the same with Mrs. Baldwin. She was like the perfect age in the first season, and then like when they aged her, I was like, I'm sorry, but she still looks 25. You put her in, like, you made her hair look gray, but she still looks 25. But that aside, it's a really good show. Just super good. We keep speculating on how many seasons they're going to keep it going. But I love it. It's super good. Well worth the time investment of 4 seasons. It did, yeah, for sure. You heard that they wanted to do set. See, Ghost keeps thinking that this will be the last season. He was like, as soon as they get up to modern day, they're not going to want to do it anymore. And I was like, no, I think they're specifically moving, they're inching everything away from the current timeline so that they can get away with doing slightly into the future. That's interesting, though. Why 7? Did they say why? Because that would mean 3 more seasons. That would definitely put them into the future. Unless they, like... Unless they stop doing a decade each season. Chatter on Discord. Ah, interesting, interesting. Yeah, I'm very interested to see... I was looking for a symbol, that's right. I'm very interested to see where they decide to stop the show. Because there are definitely... like, we are only about halfway through the current season. But there are things where I'm like, I want to know how that pans out in decades. Like, I want to know what the fallout from that is. These might be a little too specifically farmy, but let's see. Just kind of want like a little grassland indicator. Green, verdant. How did I do it when I did... Oop. How did I do it when I did... How did I do it on here? I want something like this. Although I guess that's kind of maybe marshy, but I want something like that. Just like grassland. Anyone who's like, what was that? That was the map of Kaltera from the Celestial Serenade, which I drew on my iPad. I think that they've established enough lore that they could probably do future stuff without needing real life to base it off of. See, Ghost is worried about them doing the Trump pregnancy. The Trump pregnancy. Massive scandal. Please don't clip that. He's worried about them doing the Trump presidency. He thinks they can't get away with doing it. And I was like, but they can just say that it never happened. It can be a timeline where that never happened. Yeah, it has diverged quite a bit. This is Wonderdraft. Please, and I want to live in that time. I know, right? Like, cause that's what I said when they brought up the Bush-Gore election and they changed the outcome. I was like, I feel like they're purposefully doing that because they're pushing the world away from events that they don't want to deal with in the show. Like, you can do that with alternate history. You can just be like, I don't want to talk about that, so I'm just going to pretend that it never existed. And it didn't, because this is a different timeline. Why don't they just have any, like, little grassy grasses? Can I get me a grass? Can I get me just a little grass shoot? Can I get some grass up in here? Grass, grass, grass. Hello, grass. Do we have any grass? Any grass! You got symbols for literally everything else. We've got hay, but no grass. We've got sea monsters, but no grass. What's this? Village houses. Okay. Maybe they thought grass was too boring. Oh, this is the grass. Oh, that's not bad. Okay. I can make that work. Maybe make that work. That'll maybe... That looks like grass. Oops. Some of that looks like grass. That's a tree. I didn't recognize, I don't know if you can see it, but I didn't recognize this as grass because it just looks like a freaking... It just looks like a freaking blob. Masticina, hello. How's it going? You know, I'm very tempted because there is a little, there is a little dragon that I could put, like, in the sea. See, I could totally put a dragon down there. That actually looks really cool. Yeah. It's like the little, it's like the signature. Can I make it darker if I put one on top of the other? Oh, look at that. We're leaving that. That's getting saved. Masticina, how's it going? Now open in a tab so I won't forget. Perfect. I guess I should take a proper break because I haven't done one. I should probably be like a responsible streamer and use the restroom and stretch my legs and do all that stuff that I always tell you guys to do to take care. And then I think we're going to put some... we're just going to put dragons everywhere. We're going to put some grassland in. And then we're going to do some rivers. I don't know what I'm going to do about this big empty portion of the map yet. I'm going to put some grassland on this side of the map, around here-ish, and possibly up here. And then we're going to do rivers. Actually, I guess I should maybe do the rivers first, because the riverland is going to be fertile farming. So we should really... Oh my goodness. I'm so nervous about this. There's like a tool for doing rivers, and I'm just so... I'm so worried. That's not terrible, actually. Okay. And there's lakes. Water up here. Okay. Okay. Windrose tool. What the fuck does that do? Doing well, just relaxing a bit with coffee. Nice. Upcoming chapters for my work are, oh god, oh this chapter, oh no, this will be easily 8,000 words. That sounds like a big mood. Rivers define where cities are. Yeah, so I know where the rivers theoretically are. I just haven't wanted to add them to the map. That's why we're doing them last. So I know, like I've put in all my mountains and stuff first. I might have to put some mountains down here as well, because there'd be rivers in the south. But I know where some of the rivers are. I feel like they're the hardest thing to do on the map, so I'm really nervous about them, and that's why we haven't done any. But I think what I'm gonna do is do the rivers, and then I'll do the grass, and then we just have to do a little something down here. And it'll be done. It's pretty close to done. I'm pretty happy with this, I think. Go to 45. I'm pretty well happy with how it looks. You can see most of it there. So I just have to think about like what's actually down. My characters don't go to the south a lot. So I have to think about what's actually down there. But yeah, most of the places mentioned in like the first 6 books are on this map. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to take a quick 5. I'm just going to get up, stretch, reheat my coffee. You guys should all do the same. Make sure you got something to eat. Make sure you've got something to drink if you haven't eaten recently. And make sure you stretch and move around and take care of this meat sack that you're driving. And I will be right back for Rivers, the thing I've been dreading. I'm back. Fun fact, I do have biscuits bought today. They won't last till tomorrow. Enjoy. What type of biscuits? Coffee and biscuits does sound good. I have the coffee part, not the biscuits part. Got down a rabbit hole to the history of cartography to see what kind of map I should make. Interesting. Made it all the way down to Ptolemy's Geographia? Would that be how you say that? Geographa? Which I think is a good starting point. Nice! Exiled Faye, when you've created something, please do share it in the Discord. Would love to see. Alright. Rivers. Freshwater eraser. Okay. I'm a little bit nervous about that. Okay. Gotta decide what size to do this at. Maybe I should do it from the zoomed out. So I know that there's a river that basically runs south from Shimmerel through Sayat Mistborn, although there's probably some rivers that also originate in the Mistborn. I'm only gonna do like major rivers. I'm not gonna do like every tributary. Also know that there's a river that runs through here, probably towards the sea, because at one point in time, Silver Garden was a river port, but it's kind of like with the Thames, how the river shifted, and so it now runs sort of outside the city instead of through the city, the way it once did. So maybe we'll start with, I need to do, now does it change it once I put it down? No, it'll only change it after. The width, so I probably want it to be somewhere in this. River source fade in, that sounds good. Black and white. Water appearance. I think that's fine. Water value. Oh, hey, look. I can get rid of the, but now if I do that, are the rivers gonna be right? That's a problem. I'll just do that in Photoshop after. Stain amount. What does that do? Stain amount. I don't think it does anything. Okay. Freshwater brush? What does that do? Oh. Oh, maybe that's what the stain amount is for. Don't know. Okay. Rivers love to curve. Yes, they do. Doesn't New Orleans have that issue where the water keeps getting pushed away? I'm not entirely sure, but I do know that, like, rivers change course. One of the second loops is getting stronger as the first one going through New Orleans is getting weaker. Yeah, rivers change course throughout time. They've done a lot of studies of the Thames in London as well, because it's moved, like, a lot. It used to be a lot larger of a river. It used to be a lot closer to like the original city. Because the original part of London is just like a tiny part of London now. They have little signs that mark it. So I want to have probably... We want a river that comes sort of from here. Ugh, it's not starting where I want it to start. Hang on. And runs through here. Ooh. I actually want to make that slightly larger. I wish it would start. It doesn't start directly where my mouse is when I click it, which is kind of annoying. So I might have to adjust that. I don't know if I like that. Can I retroactively adjust it? Oops. So unlike everything else, it doesn't let me, like, select it after? Interesting. So if I don't like it, I pretty much have to redo it. How about I save it, but then also undo the river and see if I can do it better? In my country, we just make channels, but even we are leaving the straight and narrow design to more curves these days, flooding after all right. Yeah, I mean, understanding rivers, it's actually really complicated. And sometimes, like, there was a flood in a town near us, and when the water receded, it did not go back to the original banks. It started flowing through a street in the city, and they had a hell of a time getting it to, like, go back to where it was supposed to be. Maybe I want it to be rougher. I feel like I didn't adjust anything. I just changed the shape of it. Kind of like that better. Not gonna lie. Even though I didn't do what I meant to do. I wonder too, if I go in... If I go back to the symbols... Can I, like... No, it just erases the whole symbol. It doesn't let me, like... How does that look? I think that looks pretty decent. Gravity. Gravity is the thing. I like that, actually. My thing is always trying to get the freaking rivers to look the way I want them to look. It just never... it just never goes the way I want it to go. And then we also have another major river that runs, I think, basically from this area, probably somewhere around here, and swings down past Silver Garden and heads over here as well. And then I'll get into the more complicated, because there's obviously stuff that runs in this direction too. I don't know how many rivers I'm gonna put on here, but this is made using Wonderdraft. It is a software. They may have used to do a free trial. I think you need to buy it now to use it, but anything that you make using Wonderdraft, you can use commercially. So my husband purchased this for his D&D campaigns, and it worked out for me because I can now also use it for my novels. So I think, again, it doesn't quite put the freaking thing where I want it to go. So I think I want it to cut like through here. Maybe do like a... Can I just undo? Nope. I kind of put a switch back in here. I don't know if I like that. I do actually kind of like that. Switchback didn't quite go the way I wanted it to go, but I think that's fine. That looks pretty decent. And we'll do the same thing. I'll move these trees around a little bit to reveal that path a bit more. I mean, I think it's a one-time fee. Hang on, I should just, in case something comes up that I don't want to come up. For anyone who's wondering, this is the program I'm using. I'm making something completely black and white because it's going in a black and white novel, but you can do color and stuff with it. It works on everything. And where's the price? So it's $29.99 USD, so $30. And that gives you the license to do basically, we've looked at this before, but you basically can use it for commercial purposes. You basically just can't like try to prevent other people from using the software. So you can't sell, resell, rent, lease, or exchange the software. But it does, if you use the software for commercial purposes, this EULA entitles you to install and operate one copy of the software for any lawful purpose consistent with this EULA. So essentially what you make with the software you can use commercially, you just can't use the software commercially, if that makes sense. Like you can't try to resell the software. What do I have in my inbox? I hate that my dentist office always sends me a thing that they're like, you haven't had an appointment in a while. You should make one. And then they send an email saying appointment reminder. And I'm always like, I don't have an appointment for anything. And I panic. So yeah. And I would say it's definitely worth it. Like, you get so much with this. I wasn't entirely sure if I would like the map that we made with this, but I do like it. It is kind of growing on me. I do think that's gonna look, I do think once I fiddle with it a little bit I think I'm gonna have to open it up in Photoshop and lighten the water. Or at least the edges, so that it's not weirdly boxy when I open it. But I do think I like it. I do think it's gonna look good in the book. And then here is essentially a map that I hand drew previously. So this took many, many, many more hours than what we're doing here today. So, yes. And then there's definitely gonna be rivers, I would imagine. Like there's probably something that runs along here into Thristathen and sort of vanishes off the side. And there's quite possibly a tributary of this that runs this way. I don't know that I'm gonna get too much more complicated than that. Sometimes getting the origin of the river where I want it is the hardest part. Because I can't move it after, which is really annoying. Get right on that border and be a justification for where the line is drawn. Hell yeah. Follow that border. Get on that border. Hell yeah. I need to start, so I kind of haven't been to the dentist in a while because I was dealing with thyroid stuff last year and it took up so much of my energy that I just kind of neglected other things, which is not good. You shouldn't do that. Especially with teeth, because whatever happens with your teeth, like, it's harder to reverse. So, and we did just get an upgrade to our insurance, so I really should go back and get a cleaning and start getting the rest of my cavities taken care of, because I'm sure they need attention. There's a couple teeth that need attention. But I just... I have a backlog of things where I'm like, I need to deal with that, and I just haven't dealt with them yet, so it's on the list. Some mornings I sit down at my computer and I'm like, I'm gonna take care of that thing today, and then I don't. And I'm like, I'll take care of that tomorrow, and then I don't. So sometimes it'd be that way. Alright. And let's do, I want to see if I can do, I don't know if this will work. I want to see if I can do like a tributary of this river. If I kind of shoot it off going this way. That'll work. I do think I want to put a lake down here. And then if we go back to symbols, we want to do, I think this was the grass I liked better than that one. Yeah. So for me, I usually use like grass to indicate like fertile territory. So we would have like, we would have some in this region, essentially. This would be like growing area. To let me move that. There we go. I do like that you can like go in and move each like individual symbol as well. Like if you don't like where it ends up placing them. This week I need to get this done and something happens. Oh my god. Big mood, right? Like, oh my goodness. It's always the week where you're like, yes, I'm feeling like I'm gonna get ahead this week. It's gonna be, I'm gonna be doing this and this, and I'll take care of this on this day, and then nothing gets done, and you're like, well, okay then. That was me this week. There were so many plans and so many dreams of what this week was gonna be, and then just really ended up not being that. Absolutely. Well, and I think too, it's important to recognize that, like, sometimes things just don't go the way you planned, and that's okay. Like, not every week is going to be the best week, and, you know, not every day is gonna have sort of the outcome you were hoping for, and instead of like beating yourself up over it, it's important to remember that like shit happens, and a lot of the time it's shit that you can't necessarily control. And being mean to yourself over it, being like, oh, I didn't get this done, or I fucked this up, or whatever, like, that doesn't really change the situation. Doesn't really make it better. And in fact, it will just make you feel kind of worse. So I try to remember that, like, on weeks like this week where I'm like, this felt like last night I had a plan for how much I was gonna get done in the evening, and I was like, I'm gonna stop when I hit this point, and it was 9 o'clock, and I had stuff left to do, and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna play Baldur's Gate, and I did. Hello, how are you? Thank you for the hydrate and the stretch. Being a spoonie, getting the most out of whatever is offered, that is life. Yeah, and I think everyone sometimes has to recognize that, like, we always think we can do more than we actually can. We always think, you know, things will pan out a certain way, and they don't necessarily. And that's okay. Like, sometimes you just gotta accept this happened. Oh, nice stretch. That feels good. I've been doing okay. This week has been a bit of a week, I'll be honest. But you know, things have worked out. Kat writes, hello. This is Wonderdraft. And we are making this map to go in the Aruvalia Chronicles, the first book of the Aruvalia Chronicles, which is coming out this month now, because it's actually February now. Which I find hard to believe, but is indeed true. Just adjusting these a little bit to sort of more reveal the edge of the river. I do like that about this, that you can sort of just grab individual trees and whatnot and sort of move them around like we are. So I can just plunk another one, down there to make up for having moved them. Go grab this one and stick it there. Like the angle of that tree. I don't like the cut of your jib. There we go. And I might need to go up here and just shift a couple of these pines as well, just a little bit. That one in there. It's getting there. We've basically just got this part left, and then it'll be finished. Because I'm not gonna really worry about Thristathen, Phallic, or Gishola at this point in time. We don't really dip too much into other countries in the first trilogy, so we're mostly just concerned about this. I'm really happy with the upper part of the map, and we basically just need to work on down here. I think I do want to put a lake in there. Done the ears! Let me go grab them. Slowly but surely is how all this works. Exactly. I think actually what I'm going to do is take a quick break. This will be the last break, because I'm going to probably go for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how long it takes for me to be happy with whatever lake we're inserting here. We're almost done, really. I have some more farmland area that I want to put in down here, and I think possibly some cliffs either like here or here. And then there's going to be a lake somewhere either like here or here. And I might do one more river because we're going to have to connect the lake to the water system. And that's about it. I definitely think we can finish in an hour. And then basically all I'll have to do is load it into Photoshop. I almost said Facebook. Load it into Photoshop and lighten the edges so that it doesn't have a weird box on it when it gets printed in the book. And it'll be done. So I'm excited. This worked out a lot more than I thought it would, in truth. I was a little bit skeptical about how it was gonna turn out when I was initially sort of playing around with it, but I think it's worked out pretty well. I think I'm pretty happy with it. And we're gonna do that. We're gonna do the Duck Pond next conquest. Oh, you got it through a humble bundle. That's awesome. When I get back, I will have the ears as well. So let me just pop AFK for a quick 3, and we will have ear time. That's what I mean. We're gonna do it. We're gonna put a lake on the map. That can be the duck pond. BRB. I am back. Let's get some ears on. They don't play quite as nicely with my new headphones. I wonder if they'd work better. My hair is a little bit... There. I think that'll work. Hopefully they won't pop off. Heck yeah! I was thinking about it while I was AFK. And if there was a duck symbol, I would put it in the pond, but I don't think there is. There's like a fish. There's a deep denizen. And there's like weird fantasy. There's no duck, unfortunately. I was like, I would totally put a cheeky little duck in the lake to make it the duck pond, but there's no duck. There's no duck, you guys. Duck. There's no duck. Sag. Alright. So I have a plan. There is a plan. I'm gonna make this into like a little how do I do this again? It's like T? No. No, what have I done? How do you rotate again? Oh, okay. Well, that doesn't do what I want it to do, does it? fix that one in Photoshop. Kind of like that. Probably looks better zoomed out. I can fix that a little bit in Photoshop. So I have no idea what this lake tool is gonna do. Interesting. Oh. And then I can just make it like... Okay. Looks decent. Whoops. I need to look up. assuming I can't, like... Okay. It's there now. It exists. It's a thing. And what I want to do is put... some mountains in there. Look when it very helpfully, like, makes them smaller for me without me having to, like, adjust them. Hey, Janine, how's it going? Don't know if I want to put it on, but I'm guessing there's like a river that runs like that, pretty much. Pretty much has to be a town on this little, like, offshoot. And we know that there's more grassland in this area here. There's obviously more towns than are, like, on the map. Still a big empty spot here that I'm not entirely sure what to do with. I'm thinking, part of me is like there should be mountains around here, but this was a magically created canyon, so there might not be. Because it didn't so much crinkle and fold the land as it did just sort of cut through it. Getting very close to finished. I kind of want to put something in here because it feels very empty, but I'm not entirely sure yet what I'm doing with that area. I think I'm going to put some forest land in here. And I'm going to extend this forest down a little bit. Because that's the only portion of the map that feels really empty right now. But yeah, I also wanted to put... I don't need to put that. That's fine. Part of me is like, that's too triangle shaped, but I kind of really like it. This is the problem with me in map making, is that I have a love of symmetry that just doesn't really exist in the real world. So trying to make things, sometimes trying to make things try to look kind of natural, I'm not the best at. Yes! Clindy Man, this is Wonderdraft. Just finishing up a map that is going to be in my first Aruvalia Chronicles book when it goes live later this month. Thank you. I appreciate that so much. This is my first time doing one in Wonderdraft. All of my previous maps that have gone out with my books have been hand-drawn, but it takes so long. Like, it takes me weeks to get a single map done, and we've done this one in essentially 6 hours. And I think it's a higher quality than I could do on my own. I have an example. So this is the last one that I did by hand. And I have another one that I did by hand as well. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm proud of these maps, but they took so long to produce. Where's the other one? This one as well. And I really love these maps. Thank you. Also, it takes time. It takes so much time and practice. I've seen way better maps than the ones I hand drew. I really love this map. I really love both of them, really. Like, these were definitely labors of love, but it takes so much time. Like, the forest alone, like, this took me like 4 hours to do. And so while I really love these maps, I didn't necessarily want to do that for this one. And I feel like the quality of this one, it's smoother, it's better. I have more control over where individual things end up, and I can move them later. And I feel like it's a higher quality for the amount of time that I have to put into it. So it's all good. I'm gonna put some forest in here for sure. And then there's just this area, which I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, and my plan is, so there's much more to this kingdom, obviously, than what is currently, like, on the map. And my plan is, like, as the series goes on, and as like, my characters travel more and more of the map opens up, to expand the map and show sort of a little bit more of what is in the world. But this covers a lot of what is in the first several books. Posture check, Kiki, thank you. So tired and waiting for 3 packages. Are they coming today? I need to see it all. Like, listen, I get it. I definitely had an idea for, like, what this, for what this all looked like in my head before I started it, like before I wrote the books. So it's been very nice to get it sort of onto a paper and to show other people sort of like what has been going on in my brain all this time. I'm sort of only doing, like, major stuff. Like, I'm sure there's more forests. I'm sure there's more farmland. I'm sure there's a lot more... There's definitely a lot more towns and stuff than what's on here. I'm just putting mostly the major stuff on. I want to put some forest down here. actually do. Just trying to figure out where this looks the nicest. I could just put it right back where it was. Have to increase the outline on that one to make it slightly more readable. I think I'm gonna put a little bit more grassland over here, and then I feel like I should put something in here, but I'm not entirely sure what. Probably at least one of the towns on the border. This area, though, is kind of empty because this is unclaimed territory and it's dangerous and no one wants to live near there. It's coming. What's in the packages today, Kiki? Oh, we're so close to being finished. I'm so excited. I'm really happy with how this came out, actually. grassland up in here. Is there a reason that didn't go where I wanted it to go? When it gives me the one little grass dot, and I'm like, ah, yes, very important. This last little dot of grass. I think that might be pretty much it. There's still, like, spaces where there isn't stuff, but I want to leave, because, like I said, my characters start to travel later on. And it will open up more, like, things. There'll be more, like, towns and stuff to see. I didn't do a ton of rivers, but I don't want to, could actually, because I think there's probably a river that runs from there to there. I don't know if it's worth putting it there. Maybe. Nope. No! Ah, why did you do that? It moved at, like, the last possible second. I'm so mad. That was, like, so perfect. Oy, oy, oy. I think that's gonna be it. I think that's where I'm gonna leave it. Now, I believe what I have to do is export it. I've not tried this before, so I have no idea. I'll have to put a name. LOL. So what does that look like then when I've exported it? How did that get in there? That doesn't belong there. Okay, and then we have the PNG version. That's pretty good! And that's 45%, which is where I've been looking at it. So there's tiny little splashes of color here that will come out of it when I open that in Photoshop. I'm pretty happy with that. In fact, if we... Let's save this one more time. If we go into Photoshop... Cheers, Clendy Man, for the hydrate. So if we... Put this in here... and we want essentially to grayscale it. And then I'm thinking, I don't know if I want to just... Oops. That looks pretty good, actually. I'm pretty happy with that. And that would be the version that would go in the book. I have to resize it. It'll have to be it'll have to be much smaller. The one thing I do worry about is I might have to delete a lot of the labels and do a version without them, because I might have to make the labels bigger. Because if I have to make it this size for the book, I'm not sure if that's entirely readable. That looks quite small. But I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. I'm pretty happy with it, you guys. So we have a version with the white background, and we have the version that it first spit out for us from Wonderdraft. So there we go. I'm pretty happy with both of those, in all honesty. Pretty pleased with how that came out. I mean, I might do some touch-ups. I might have to redo a couple of... We've definitely had at least 10 minutes of that. I forgot I was wearing it. I might have to do a couple of touch-ups. I might have to redo some of the labels, but I'm pretty happy with that. I will gladly publish that in my book. Hey, Anne! Doing a short stream of writing since the kids are down for a quiet time. Oh, I love your Mickey Mouse. Thank you. Those were redeemed earlier, and I forgot that I had them on. I hope you get many, many words done. This is pretty much it. This is what we set out to do, and I think we did a pretty good job. I do think there was a certain charm to the hand-drawn maps that I did, and I appreciated them, but I think this looks really good. I think it came out as good as I could have hoped for it to come out, really. So yeah, I think we're gonna stop there, because we're done. We finished. Anyone who missed me say it earlier, the program that I use to make this is Wonderdraft. This right here, Wonderdraft. It is a one-time purchase, and then you can use that to create commercial assets that you use in books and novels and whatnot. No, different world from the other maps. So each of the other maps that I showed came from a different world. I will show them again. I will show them again quick. The first map that we looked at a couple of times, because I was doing a lot of comparison, this is Kalterra. This is from my Celestial Serenade space opera. This is one of the planetary maps. There's a star map for that as well. But this is the planetary map, the ground map, if you will, of Kalterra for my for the first book in my space opera, Celestial Serenade. And then we have the other one that I showed is from the second book of Dreamers Do Lie. And this is the Continental. Ooh, there's one without the labels, which I might have to do that for the Aruvalia map as well. Just take out all the labels and save a version of it. This is the map, the Continental map from Dreamers Do Lie. Don't know that that planet ever was given a name, because that was a fantasy, but this is from my high fantasy reimagining of Dante's Inferno. So that is from there. This is the book 2 map. The book 1 map was just basically my version of Hell, which this was my very first map, and I don't think it's very good, but this was kind of to show the different layers of Hell. And as proof that my initial maps were all hand-drawn, oh no, this is just what it looks like. This isn't the hand-drawn one. I do have a picture of the Hell map hand-drawn. There's the original version of that before I got it digitized. This is what it looked like when it was printed out inside the book. So they print out pretty clear. And then this map that we did today, the Aruvalia map, is a brand new series, brand new high fantasy series that is going to start publishing this month. This is for Eyes of a Stranger, the first book in the Aruvalia Chronicles, and this is a world not seen before in any of my other books. So brand new worlds, brand new continents. It was very, very interesting, I think. The more I play with this program, the more comfortable I feel doing things with it. I definitely think the most challenging thing was getting it to spit out a coastline that I liked. I do think you could basically just spend hours generating continents and saving like contours of continents or island chains or whatever before you do anything else with it. Like, and in the future, I think I might do that ahead of time. If I'm streaming doing a map, I might actually design the coastline ahead of time, because it's a lot of like random. Can you put in an overlay that you have drawn and trace it into Wonderdraft? I believe you can import something into Wonderdraft and tell it to trace it, and it will trace an outline of it. I don't know how good it is, because I haven't tried it. I could try that. I could hand draw the continent next time and see if I can get Wonderdraft to trace it. I might test that out. It is an option. That was the only thing that I felt like I didn't really have a ton of control over, was because with Wonderdraft, I can just show really quickly. We did this on stream last time, but you basically go into this tool here, the landmass wizard, and you basically pick what you want and you hit generate, and then you can play with the water level to get it to give you different size continents. You can do, what we ended up doing was just like a whole world. And then just fiddling with it until it gave, like, the problem I find with the world is if you make it big enough, it always just looks like a square. But you can fiddle with that, and like if you want an island chain, you can just jack the water level way up. It also has like it has different like settings that you can go into. This is the only thing that I felt like I didn't have a ton of control over, really, because I had a specific coastline type in mind, and it wasn't necessarily giving it to me. But you could just do this for hours. Like, you could just screw around with it also has uniform, which just generates like a singular mass. The one problem is you can't rotate it. So like if I liked this continent but I wanted to change the direction of it, I would have to export it into Photoshop and then import it back in using the trace feature, which I might try a few times just to see how good it is. You can also then, like, if I only wanted to use part of this map, I could do create detail map. And I can just select the area and I can say, give me a detailed map of this. And I can make it 2.5 times zoom or whatever. And then I just hit create and it will create the detailed map, which is how we got the like continental map of Aruvalia. So I have a more zoomed out one that I saved, and then I have a more zoomed in one that I saved. Just to give you an idea of like how you, I might actually save that because I like it. Test map. And I don't know if I'll ever have a use for it, but whatever. So yeah, I think in the future, I might do my like continental generation off stream because I can see that just being a very time consuming process. But I'm really happy with how this worked out. I think it's good. I'm excited to see what it looks like when it's printed in a book. For now, though, we are gonna see who we can raid. Because I gotta go get some lunch. So let's see who is around. Oh gosh. Oh, sometimes Raven is doing art. What's she up to? Character drawing? Heck yeah! Maybe we'll drop in on her. We have dropped in on Sometimes Raven at least once before. So let's do that. She is also a writer. Sorry, they are also a writer. I should remember to check pronouns before I speak. They are also a writer. And they're currently working on character art today, so that works out perfectly. If you have my emotes, please feel free to use them. Otherwise, use any emotes, because it's all about the love. This is my last stream for the week on my channel, and I unfortunately don't think I'm going to have a specific schedule next week. Next week might be a seat of the pants stream when I feel up to it, because I'm probably gonna have some health stuff to deal with next week. That might make it difficult to keep a regular. I've been trying to stream every Wednesday and Thursday morning. I want to kind of do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday mornings as like my dedicated schedule. I'm trying to see if that works. But there is a certain thing that often throws a wrench into my entire schedule once a month. And I suspect next week is the week that will be happening. So I don't know if I'll have a schedule next week. Tentatively, I might try to stream actually Monday and Friday, which are not the days I'm trying to stream regularly. But we'll see. Keep an eye on the Discord. I will post in there. when I go live, and then the week after next, the week of the 12th, I should be back to regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I should be able to keep a pretty regular Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday stream schedule going forward. Hopefully, fingers crossed. That's what I'm hoping for. And I want to start doing a once a month longer stream where I stream like from morning to afternoon, so that I hit that other like time zone as well. I just haven't quite figured out how I'm gonna manage that yet, so that's percolating. It's percolating. We'll do a test at some point and see how it works out. But yeah, if you want to catch me elsewhere, I will be on It's Woof's channel on Saturday night. I will be playing Coffee Talk Chapter 2 because I finished Coffee Talk Chapter 1, and I'm excited to see more story and meet more people because the first game was very charming. So that will be happening on Saturday at 8 p.m. PST. And then if you're on the Discord, you'll know when I'm around, when the time comes. Let's get the raid going. Until I see you guys next, thank you so much for hanging out with me. This has been a wild, crazy journey making this map, and I'm just so happy that it turned out. I really genuinely was not entirely convinced at the end of last stream that I really liked how the map looked. So loading it up today and going through more of it and adding in more detail has really convinced me that this is a program that I want to keep using and that I want to do more with in the future. In a couple months, we're going to have another series, my Everyone's Child series, that's going to need a map as well. So I think we'll be revisiting Wonderdraft and see if we can get it to work out what's in my brain and get it on paper. But until I see you next, give them no hello. We're about to raid out, but I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much for dropping in. Everybody, please take care of yourself. Remember to eat, drink, sleep, walk around, take care of this meat bag that you're driving, and I will see you again very soon. Take care.